Right now, my truck's rear suspension is completely destroyed. I'm hiding behind a broken gas pump, and my pet Stump is turning regular green peas into a rapid-fire stream of melting plasma. Meanwhile, my other pet, a 1,000-pound grumpy green vegetable, is about to body slam a zombie the size of a dump truck. Let me rewind and show you how one tiny sneeze and a spilled energy drink created the most chaotic night of my life. It started during a forest patrol, when I found a strange glowing military crate. Inside were 3 seed pods. I brought them back to my cabin, set them on the kitchen table, and before I could even grab my camera, they popped open. First was Peashooter. He looked around with huge, curious eyes, scrunched up his snout, and let out a tiny, high-pitched... A soft little pea bounced right off my forehead. Next was Torchwood. Basically a tiny, extremely grumpy piece of kindling that smelled like a campfire. And finally, Squash. A small, heavy green pebble with a permanent scowl. I knew they needed a boost, so I grabbed a bottle of experimental forest fertilizer I'd been working on. I gave a few drops to Peashooter and Torchwood. Instantly, Peashooter grew to the size of a large dog and suddenly looked ready for battle. Torchwood swelled up and burst into a steady, controlled flame that lit up the whole room. But when I turned to Squash, the bottle was empty. He didn't grow at all. He just gave me this betrayed look, rolled off the table with a heavy thud, and sulked in the corner. I figured I'd make more fertilizer tomorrow. We did not make it to tomorrow. That night, the perimeter alarms around my cabin started screaming. I looked out the window and saw 5 pale, rotting zombies shambling out of the tree line. Before I could even grab my gear, Peashooter hopped onto the porch, locked onto all 5 targets, and opened fire. It was incredible! High-velocity peas dropped every zombie in seconds. Then the heavy footsteps started. A second wave came out of the woods, but this time they were carrying thick steel screen doors as shields. Peashooter fired again, but the peas just pinged harmlessly off the metal. He kept shooting faster and faster, trying to punch through until he was panting, overheating, and running on empty. The horde was closing in fast. We had to move. I grabbed the squad and ran to my pickup truck. I put the exhausted Peashooter in the passenger seat beside me, tossed Torchwood and Squash into the truck bed, slammed the gas pedal, and tore off into the dark woods. I was driving way too fast. The dirt road was washed out, and I hit a massive pothole. The truck launched into the air. In the rearview mirror, I watched a giant can of energy drink tip over and dump every last drop directly onto Squash. There was a blinding flash of neon green light in the truck bed. Squash didn't just grow. He mutated! His sheer weight instantly snapped the rear suspension of my truck. The whole pickup dropped hard, lost control, and by pure luck, skidded into the lot of an abandoned forest gas station before finally dying. Because the truck was tilted at a crazy angle, the giant Squash rolled out onto the concrete with a ground-shaking thud. He didn't care about the crash at all. He just closed his eyes and immediately fell asleep beside the air pump. And there was absolutely no way I was moving him. A second later, the tree line around the gas station started rustling. We were surrounded. Dozens of shield zombies and bucket heads were closing in from all sides. Peashooter had recovered enough to fight, but I knew his normal shots still wouldn't break metal armor. Then I looked at Torchwood. His flames were burning bright. So I grabbed Peashooter, set him directly behind Torchwood, and let them do their thing. Peashooter took a deep breath and unleashed a rapid-fire volley. The peas flew straight through Torchwood's flames and ignited midair. Suddenly, our regular pea fire had turned into a barrage of white-hot plasma shots. The combo was insane. The steel doors melted into glowing puddles. Bucket heads were gone in seconds. We had turned into a literal flamethrower turret, and for a moment, it felt like we could hold that line forever. Then the gas station roof groaned. Stepping out from behind the building was a gargantuan. 12 feet of muscle, carrying a massive concrete pillar. Peashooter focused every shot on the giant. The plasma rounds hit him, but they only made him angrier. He marched straight through the fire, while his heavy boots cracked the pavement. Torchwood was starting to flicker, and Peashooter was already close to overheating again. We had nowhere left to run. The Gargantuar raised his concrete pillar for the final blow. Then he took one more step forward and accidentally kicked the sleeping Squash. Everything went silent. Squash opened his eyes, and they were glowing red with pure rage. He crouched down, compressed all that weight into one terrifying second, and launched himself 50 feet into the night sky. For a moment, he hung there like a giant green shadow blocking out the moon. Then he dropped. The impact hit like a meteor. Dust and broken asphalt blasted everywhere. When the smoke cleared, the Gargantuar was gone. In his place was a huge cracked crater, and in the middle of it sat Squash, looking slightly less grumpy. He let out one heavy sigh and fell right back asleep. By morning, the gas station was wrecked, but my squad was safe. Peashooter was resting on the hood of the broken truck, Torchwood had burned down to a quiet ember, and Squash was still like a boulder. We survived, but while I was staring at the ruined suspension, I heard a strange squeaking sound overhead. I looked up. Floating high above the tree line was a zombie strapped to a weird red balloon, just watching us. So now the threats are coming from the air. That means this team needs anti-air defense. Who should I grow next? A cactus with high-velocity spikes? Or a homing cattail? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe so you don't miss the next evolution, and I'll see you out in the woods.